um, through both your academic research and also your studies over there at Columbia. How do you feel like your time at Watson equipped you to take that passion for your mission area into real world, meaningful work after graduation?
I would say broadly speaking, while at Watson, the I was engaged on campus and we have lean classes and Watson classes, then all the internship requirements. And so having all of that, I was already very busy on campus and being in New York where it's extremely fast paced and everybody is onto something and it's everybody's competitive. Like if you're applying for jobs, you're applying with your classmates who are equally impressive. So the competition is like at a different level. And so having been involved at Watson and taking all the opportunities, the being a TEDx speaker, thank you, Romy, for organizing that. And then like the different internships and being involved in different organizations and expanding on my skill sets allowed me not only to be competitive when applying for initial research positions when I got here at New York, but also building the stamina to be able to be involved in the different things that I am currently involved in. And this community that Watson provided, I think one important thing we speak about the other day is protecting your courage, being able to understand and realize that there are different challenges that you would experience in the real world and pushbacks when trying to pursue things that you're passionate about. And that despite all that, you have to stay true to your why and knowing that, yeah, there are going to be bumps, but I have a support system. There are Watson people, there's Romanchika, there's Arif, there's James, all the different people that are there to support you when things aren't going as planned. And yeah, creating community, as Romanchika said, having a strong work ethic and going after what you believe in.
Thank you for sharing that. When you say there's so much that you were involved with here at Watson, and now I feel like that's amplified over there in New York. And I understand. I'm pretty sure that somebody has this question that's going to ask you, but I'm gonna steal your thunder about how do you balance all that, right? Being involved in so much, and how you said being involved in so many things at Watson helped you to build your stamina, right? I want you to go a little more into that and how how do you feel through doing all that here at Watson? Now you're able to manage all the stuff you do up there at Columbia.
Yeah, I would say one thing that everybody has here is the same thing we had at Watson, like your Google Calendar. So even if I'm organizing to hang out with friends, it's on my calendar because if it's not there, I'm not showing up. So just having that kind of structure that Watson provided allowed me to tap into that resource and tap into that skill set that I had been building in order to inform how I give my time or spend my time here. And at Watson, I had my mission area, which Aries mentioned before, mental health and intersection with gender equality. And I would say it's not easier. Like, I think there's something in the elevator that says if you do what you like, you can work a day in your life. I'm paraphrasing that. But I don't necessarily think that's true. I think for me specifically, it's my mission area is something that I experience. So if I'm talking about gender equality as a woman, the different things that come into play, or mental health and my past struggles with mental health. I also mentioned a part of that in my TEDx. So it's easier for me to stay committed to the things I'm actively passionate about. And when the passion maybe might run out because I'm facing a hurdle or facing a specific challenge, it's still part of my identity. So I can't really run away from it. So that keeps me a little bit tethered to what I am invested in and what I'm putting my time and energy in, because I also want to see the change that I'm trying to create in the world. So I don't know if that answered your question, but if you can ask again, if I don't answer any particular portion, I would be able to answer. But just being kind of personally connected to the work that I'm doing allows me to be able to use the skill sets, like having a schedule and having my priorities straight and putting that into things that I want to create change in.
Now, actually, I think that was honestly a great answer, and yes, you did answer every part. And what I loved about what you said is just how the connection to what you're doing helps that type of stamina, right? Because I know work life balance is a huge thing, and it's important for us to always have that in mind, but also understanding that we're like us here on the panel, you know, all of us are 22, 21, 23, 24, however old we are, you know, we're a little on the younger side. Like, if there's any time for us to be working, you know, 50-hour weeks, 55-hour weeks, the time is now. You know what I mean? And you know, understanding, you know, that, you know, that some things are gonna have to go to the wayside. But understanding that, you know, like now is the time that we're able to get the most value out of what we know and our skill sets, right? So I appreciate you saying that. Because it isn't a perspective we hear too often, in my opinion. I'm gonna move on to Cynthia. Cynthia, you're someone who now works full time at Watson, on the global team, and I feel like you poured so much back into the community that has done so much for you from a professional standpoint. Looking back at your experience as a Watson scholar, what's something that you feel you have a lot more appreciation for now, sitting in your shoes?
Great question. So I feel like this can be answered in two ways for me. First, the elements of the program, so what Watson consists of. Um, you know, we're required to always show up on time on classes. I don't know if your preceptors or professors, sorry, are the same way, but when I was a student, we got late, we wouldn't be able to enter the classroom, or we would have to sing. And of course, we didn't want to sing. So we were always there on time, you know, sitting. AHOT, we had to be every Wednesday on AHOT on time, not we get penalties, as well as like Fridays, right? You always have an activity on Friday, you have to be there on time, dressed professionally. So this was kind of a habit that was given to me. So I learned how to be more organized with myself, with time, to show up, to be presentable, to be professional. And I feel that carried on because I was implementing it every day for 3 years, that when I noticed, it was just part of me, right? I was there on time. It wasn't more of like, oh, I need to go this Friday to hear this guy speak. I was more into, that's so exciting that I'm getting to learn about this person today, and I get to leverage that opportunity. And when I noticed that change, I realized kind of the growth in me, right? Because when you have that realization, you get to realize, okay, you're growing and you really want to learn from what's given to you. So I think definitely that, and I was able to carry that away with me, because now, you know, I'm never late to meetings. I'm always there. I show up. I'm always professional, etc. So I think I carried that with me, and that was something that, as a normal Lynn student, these people don't have, because, you know, they can go on classes at whatever time they want. They won't be penalized. They even don't show up, and it's something that, you know, it's good that you guys are having and you get to implement every day, because again, it's consistency and it ends up being a habit that you don't actually realize, but it's going to help you in the future, because that's your life. You're not going to be late to an interview. You're not going to be late to your meeting. You're going to be fired if you're not professional enough. So that's one thing. I think another thing that was huge for me was the community that was built and the intention behind it. So from hiring the professors to, you know, the students that were accepted to be part of the cohort, to even the mentors that James looked into for us. I feel, you know, having a community that's on the same kind of space that you are in, like you're all doing this sort of things at the same time, it's helpful because you're in this environment that's allowing you to grow. As well as, you know, the preceptor's knowledge that you can leverage. I remember I had this class on my senior year. It was thesis and not thesis, sorry, it was portfolio. And the professor, she said, you have to make a website to offer your services or whatever your venture is. So I did the website. It was pretty cool. I was like, okay, amazing. And then I showed it to her. She was like, yeah, this is great, but now you have to create an invoice. I'm like, okay, why am I going to need an invoice in my future? Like, this is lame. I was like, this is lame. I don't need this. Why am I creating an invoice? But I did it because, you know, at this point, I got the habit of doing everything I could at my best. So giving my 100% in everything, even though it was lame. I did it and I did my best. And she was happy with it. I was happy with it. Okay, the class ended. a few weeks ago, I was contacted by a potential client and she told me, okay, this is great, but I need a quote. And I was like, oh my God, where am I gonna get a quote? I'm never gonna, you know, I've never made a quote before. I don't know. And then I remembered I had this asset I built in this class. It was an invoice and I could use it as a template to get the quote. And, at this point, I don't have time. I work full time for Watson, 9 to 5. So I was sort of just like, I can just pull this, make some changes and just send it to her. And that's what I did. If it wasn't because of my preceptor that pushed me to create an invoice that by that time I thought it was not going to be beneficial for me. And it wasn't because of, and if it wasn't because I put in the work like 100% to make it good, I was able to use it because of that, right? Because I did my best. I could get back to it, use it, and then, keep up with whatever I was doing that day. So that intentionality of the community that you guys have that, sometimes it may feel like overwhelming or like they just, I don't know, what's the word? They're annoying. They're not, they're trying to push you, they're trying to support you. And I think for me, that landed in a way that it made me believe in myself more. Something that happened with me when I was through Watson, we were matched with mentors. And I don't know if you still are, but we were matched with mentors. And I had difficult times with my mentors. Like I never connected with them. I was like, okay, this sucks. Like I don't like this. I don't want to meet with this person 30 minutes. I have nothing to share. So, I even talked about with James several times. I was like, I don't like my mentor. I don't know how to carry this relationship. And one of the preceptors at that time, or professors, at that time, she was one of kind of the toughest professors. My cohort or others didn't really like her at that time. She was like very tough in the sense that she pushed you, not because she was rude or she wanted you to fail, but she really wanted to push you and take you out of that comfort zone. And I remember I just truly admire her, not for only for her intelligence, because she was very knowledgeable in various fields, but because also personally she was able to, raise her daughter and also have this amazing job and just be so successful. I just admire her in so many ways. And I always asked for her support without knowing that she would eventually form into my mentor. And I remember one time, while she was always busy, she used to be in the 3rd floor, and if you would pass through her window, she was always in a meeting. I remember I would pass to see she could talk to me, and she was in a meeting, but she would see me and she would be like, wait, don't go. And then once she was out of the meeting, she would look, and go find me, and we would talk and we would have these conversations. And I remember when I was looking for a job, during my senior year, I was about to graduate, so I was in the job search, and she approached me and I showed her my spreadsheet. I made this beautiful spreadsheet with all the list of the options when I wanted to apply to these kind of organizations. So I had my beautiful spreadsheet and she looked into it. She was like, Cynthia, you can't settle for less than this. And she wrote a number and she gave it to me. It was the salary range. And I was like, you can't settle below this, because all my options were below that range. And I was like, you're crazy. Who's gonna hire me? I'm just graduate. I'm just about to graduate. She was like, no, you've had this experience. You've put 4 years into, putting out there your experience, your talent. You have it, and you don't settle below this number because you're worth it. And I remember that stuck with me. I'm worth it. That was the community that believed in me, that pushed me to be better. And just, thought that my talent and my creativity and all that I was able to give was worth it. And when I got my first job, which is this one that I have now at Watson, I didn't settle for less and I got that number. So yeah, that's my experience. And I think that's what I appreciated the most from my experience. And I got to meet amazing people as well that I will always carry with me. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you for sharing all that. And I think what I got most of what you said is just a lot of the things that you appreciated from Watson. Not only did you share, set you apart here at Lynn in general in this community, but more so set you apart in the workforce. You know what I mean? In this crazy job market that we're in. And that actually brings me to Annabelle. One of my favorite things about Watson, and I say it all the time, is like I feel like Watson prepares our students to be work ready right after they leave. And that's like one of my favorite things because so much value. We leave here and we're assets in the social impact space wherever we go, whether it's here in South Florida or if it's in New York or Boston, wherever it is, right? So with you, Annabelle, you're currently working in the legal field, which isn't always seen as a traditional, social impact field, but for you, it's deeply aligned with your mission to empower women through law, right? And so my question is, how did Watson prepare you to step directly into work right after you left Watson?
Okay, I just want to first start. I do work at a sexual assault and abuse law firm, so I just wanted to like put a trigger warning out for that because it does play into my question or my answer. But to your first part of your question, yeah, I definitely don't think that the legal field and like law firms in general have a great like the bias around them with like making impact. I don't think is the best. I think a lot of times people look at the legal field and it's all about money, and these like firms are, doing these things, filing civil lawsuits or in criminal case courts to like get money and to make their firm bigger. And I would say that I got really lucky with my first job that they are a sexual abuse and assault law firm that genuinely cares for their clients. Like all of our clients are adults now who were sexually assaulted or abused when they were children. So the statute of limitations for criminal cases is obviously over. They're well into their 50s, 60s, 70s. So that's not an option. So now we have the option of filing civilly to get them damages. So that is what we fight for. We like their entire life, they've been traumatized, their lives have been affected, they haven't been able to keep jobs or gain opportunities due to the abuse that they suffered at people that were supposed to care for them. Foster homes, foster parents, their own parents, teachers. And we genuinely like we have a law firm meeting every Wednesday with all of our 200 employees and the CEO and everyone, and it's awesome. And you can genuinely see the passion in like the CEO. His name is Jeff Herman. How much he cares for the work he does, and he started with like 2 people and he built up this entire firm. And he says like we're in the business of making money because we're a business. We're in the business of helping clients like find their voice and heal through civil litigation. And although there might be controversial opinions to that you can't always find and heal through that, the process of them finding their voice is like everything. And hearing good results, like I just heard like we just were doing jury selection throughout the last 2 days, and I just got like a message that our case settled. And so it's like that is it's just amazing. Yeah. And so sorry, it's on my phone. And our investigators are very excited that we don't have to go and make these jury packets for all our potential jurors. But yeah, so I'd say like to my first part, I got really lucky with my law firm that I'm at. It's definitely like a family, close-knit, like although we're 200 employees, like they make it a point to make sure that every employee is like seen, heard, and that they're like given the recognition that they deserve, even if it's like, your administrative support and you do mail for our law firm, like you're still seen and given the support and recognized for what you do, because it all plays a part into like allowing our clients to find their voice and heal through the help of us, I guess. So it's definitely the legal field's definitely not seen as something that is like super social impact oriented, but I think it definitely can be. And I'm really happy that I'm in a position now that allows me to see that and really have hands-on work as well with it. And I'd say for using law to empower women, I think like I'm also lucky in a sense that I feel empowered through the people I work with. Like my boss, she is our chief legal officer, and she works closely with our other attorney manager, and they're both women and they're awesome. And like almost all our paralegals are women. And so it's awesome to see like a women dominated law firm. Like the law field is not women dominated and female dominated, but our law firm is. And I think it's awesome to be someone who I want to go to law school. And being able to be surrounded by such like successful women and successful, women in positions of power is awesome. And especially when it directly, has a social impact motive as well. So I'd say that Watson definitely prepared me for my position that I currently hold in a lot of indirect ways, but kind of what to Cynthia said, I was definitely like deep into the job search when I was graduating. I also had an Excel sheet and there was so many things that I put on there. And I think that the workshops and how close I got with my preceptors at the end, my senior year, definitely helped with like gaining advice from them on how to like navigate the job market and how to navigate being able to hold a full-time job after college. So I wouldn't say I was directly prepared for my job only because it's so different from what I expected it to be. It changes all the time. And I'm learning so much, but I remember also like having a conversation with James that like the job market is kind of like a game and you have to really just dive into it and play the game. And I got very lucky with not having an actual like my job that I have now was like a cold connection. I didn't have any connection there. It was a cold cold application, and I got lucky and I had an in-person interview with my now boss, and in a great way. She's intimidating in a great way though. And so and then she hired me, and it's been like up and down. Like, to be candid, it's been up and down since. Like, she had never had an executive assistant prior to me, so she was learning as well as me. And I mentioned to them, one of her strong suits is not time management, and so that's now become my role. And I think Watson has prepared me with that. Like Cynthia said, showing up and being on time to things, being punctual is like the name of the game for us. And she is like not punctual, unfortunately. We love her, but she gets, there's so many things she wants to do that she misses the things she has to do, and she cares so much. And so that's why it's like it's now become my job that like I'm guessing where she's supposed to be at even when she doesn't know, and making sure she's there. So that ingrained in me, and I feel like I was a pretty punctual, time organized person when I was in college, and so I think it's definitely translated with how much Watson told us, like, time management, be on time, like, it does matter, like how it looks does matter. And so that's been kind of a strong point in my position now that I'm holding. Yeah, so I think overall Watson has ingrained me a certain level of professionalism that I don't think I would have otherwise gotten. And being in a definite like corporate 9-to-5 role, like professionalism is really important, and showing up the correct way like makes all the difference, because people don't take you seriously, or we are a big firm, and you have to show up authentically yourself, of course, but as well with boundaries that like you're in a professional setting, and that that impression lasts and sticks with people, and it's just important. So I would definitely say that I was prepared through Watson and how they helped me gain that perspective on a new job or on my current job. And I'm just grateful to have had them, and how it's affecting my current role.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think, yeah, like my main takeaway from that is just, that everything you said doesn't happen on accident, right? Like working at a large law firm, 200 employees, and having the impact that you've had on that firm, it doesn't just happen. It happens with a lot of intention. And then from what you said, you brought a lot of intention to your time at Watson that thus led to where you are now. So I appreciate you for sharing that insight today. James, on to you. You started off as part of the first ever cohort here at the Watson Institute at Lynn University. And then after that, you moved on to work for Watson here in the South Florida team. And now, you work for the global team here at Watson and kind of share your insights on, the program design aspect here at Watson. It's clear that you've invested so much time of your professional life to the development of young change makers through Watson. So my question for you is, tell us a little bit about the vision you hold for every Watson student. What do you hope each and every single Watson student who walks in here at Lynn to be here at Watson, what do you hope they walk away with?
First of all, I want to say that this has been a very inspiring conversation to have. Literally, I'm taking notes. I'm very inspired just to hear from Manshika, Bemsi, Isaiah, Annabelle, Cynthia. Please put your hands together for them. I know some of you don't want to be here, but the information you're getting from this session, if you take it to heart, it would save you a lot of time and it would save you a lot of wasted resources. I promise you. Because even from my perspective, like I'm learning a lot. I mean, starting with what Romanchik has said about finding your why, and I cannot, stress that enough, right? Like even depending on what you do in the marketplace, the difference between a career and a job is your why. And like she said, the money might not come with it, but along the lines, you can become rich like Sarika, Sarika doesn't like me telling people that she's rich, but she is. Take my word for it. Anyways, I also like what Romanchik said about, trying many different things. It's something that does to you in terms of your clarity, in terms of building your own capacity and your own ability to believe in yourself. Bensi said, I had a conversation with her I had a conversation with Bensi, I think maybe sometime last year. So I was just asking her, how's Colombia treating you? And she said something that was similar to what she just said to you guys right now, which I was very, surprised by. The question I asked her was, what's the difference between your Watson experience and Colombia? And her answer actually quite shocked me. She said, there's no difference. The only difference is the resources that I get from Colombia. I have a lot more access to resources, but the level of competition, the level of accountability, it's the same. And I don't feel like, I didn't feel intimidated coming into the space because I'm like, I did this at Watson. And I think while you are in the program, there's a tendency to take those things for granted. I mean, everything that Cynthia said, what she said about the salaries is true. By the way, if Harvey comes back, tell him to cut this part out of the recording. I know that is true because even after she negotiated her salary, she gave me a call and said, like, did I do everything right? Did I ask everything right? And is this the number I should go for? That's not something you get in the marketplace. I told her transparently, that was not something that I had. So I think, and I had to learn the hard way. I had to, and I was explaining this to Vishwa the other day, even just learning how to negotiate. I learned that the very hard way. I lost some money along the way, but I learned it eventually. But these are the things that you can pick up from spaces like this that you don't pick up otherwise. I mean, what Annabelle just shared about professionalism, you either have it or you don't. Like that's just the truth. You either have it or you don't. I watched a video on Instagram where there's this guy who was interviewing an MMA fighter. Do you guys know what MMA is? So he's interviewing this MMA fighter and he tells him, do you think I can survive 30 seconds in a ring with you? And the MMA fighter says, I don't think you can survive 10 seconds in a ring with me. And the guy says, really? I think I got that dog in me. And you know what the MMA fighter says to him? He says to him, it doesn't matter what you got in you if you don't have oxygen in you. What he was basically trying to tell him is, I'm going to strangle you in 10 seconds and you're not going to survive, 10 seconds. And I say that because that's literally everybody. You look at it from the outside and think, well, I think I can do it. It doesn't matter how much you believe in yourself. If you don't have the training, you either have it or you don't. And the terrible thing about that is when you want to do something for the first time, when you need to do it, if you're doing something for the first time, when you absolutely need to do it, it's probably too late. So I think having this space, where you can develop these things are very, very powerful. And what Isaiah said about, just connecting with people, like just being open, connecting with people is so, so powerful. So I have 3 things I want to share with you, right? The first one is one of the reasons why I had, I had an absolute blast, serving as program manager here at Watson at Lynn, is because I'm one of you. I see myself in all of you. And for me, I think in that sense, you have to understand that, first of all, you are special. And the person next to you is special. But what makes you special is not just because you're here. For those of you who are in the program, I said this over and over again while I was program manager. I personally know people who will give an arm to be in your position. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I personally know people who will give an arm to be in your position. And I say that so that you know it can weigh on you, you know, the perspective that you have, even within Lynn. I mean, there's some of you here. I mean, if it's okay, Alicia, I can use it for an example. Alicia said to me, and this is one of my favorite questions. Any one of you who had a conversation with me before you joined the program, this is one of the questions that I asked you. Why Watson? And Alicia said to me very candidly, Watson is the only reason why I'm still at Lynn. I was actually on my way out when I found the program. And I say that because even within Lynn, there's students who don't even know that Watson is what they need. It's one thing to want something, it's another thing to need something, right? And there are many young people around the world who would love to be in your position, who would love to be in the position where they receive the training that they need that would prepare them for life, you know, post-graduation. So number one, I want you to realize how special you are because of the opportunity you have, because of the opportunity you have, because of the people that are sitting next to you. And unfortunately, I also know that there's students in your position throughout the years who don't realize how special what they have is. And that does have a consequence on your experience. And a lot of you know this firsthand. The second thing I'd like to say is give yourself to the training. They said, you know, I mean, everyone here has said this to some degree. It's one thing to have the training there, it's another thing to give yourself to it. So give yourself to it, because here's the kicker. You're not going to rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your training. You cannot be better than your training. You cannot be better than the training you're exposed to in your life. And this is true for life. And this is true for everything else. You know, like you guys know, I like to talk in anecdotes and metaphors. So I'm going to give you one. There's a movie I saw years ago. I was literally a kid when I saw this movie, but this scene stuck in my mind. I was no older than 11 or 12 when I saw this scene, but it stuck in my mind. It was a team of, I think, 3 US SEAL team members who were completely surrounded by Islamic insurgents. And the commander of the insurgents who had surrounded the SEAL team members told them not to attack. And one of his team members came to him and said, I mean, we've outnumbered them. There are hundreds of us. There's 3 of them. It was literally they were in the valley. So he said, there's hundreds of us, there's 3 of them. Let's just go and finish them off. And he asked him a question. He said, what was the cost of your training? That's what he asked his team member. The guy said, what do you mean, what's the cost of my training? He didn't understand the question. So the commander answered it. He said, the cost of your training was the cost of a bullet. What that meant was they literally just showed him how to shoot a gun. As soon as he knew how to shoot a gun, they gave him a gun. He said the cost of each of those 3 soldiers there averaged $6 million. That's how much the United States Army spent on training each of them, $6 million. It doesn't matter that we've outnumbered them. We have to wait until it's dark because we need the darkness as an advantage. That stuck to me. Because he's basically saying your training matters. Your training matters in your life. Your training does matter. So the training you're exposed to, ultimately, that's what's going to shape you. The last thing I would say in terms of, you know, the vision that I have, and like, again, I'm saying this, you know, tying this to my first point, that I'm one of you. I see myself in all of you. I said this to Sarika the other day, but for the training I got at Watson Institute, I don't think, and I'm not even I'm not saying this because it's Watson Institute. And I, like a lot of you know, I'm very, very candid and very honest about, you know, the things that I say. I don't think I would have been employable as a person without the training I got at Watson Institute. And you know why I say that? Is because naturally speaking, I'm a renegade. Like when I see something, I want to do it, and that's fine. But if you don't have a certain discipline, it doesn't matter how talented you are, you're going to miss it. I mean, you see this in sports. Many of you who follow sports, you know that one player who is super talented, but never quite seemed to reach their full potential. You know what was missing? Even though everyone clearly knows they're talented, the discipline. Does that make sense? So I knew that that was going to be the same for me. There's no way I was going to be employable or reach my full potential in terms of being able to actually execute the things that I want to do without the training that I got. The last thing I want to say to you is something that comes in form of a very, very powerful metaphor here at Watson Institute. At the end of your time in the program, you have something called Summit. That's both literal and metaphorical, because this is the apex of your experience at Watson Institute, right? It's a beautiful opportunity for you to go and, you know, talk to an audience and you know, like the literal handbook or handout that seniors are sent says, to present yourself as a thought leader. This is a very simple point, but this is my hope. This is my vision for anyone who goes through the program. Let that not be the biggest thing that you do. This is my hope, my vision. It's even a prayer for any student who goes through Watson Institute. Let that not be the biggest thing that you do. Let Summit be the least that you could ever be. And you have to first make up your mind that that's going to be the case for you. Because one, the opportunity that you have, the training that you've been exposed to, let Summit be the least you would ever be. Let that not be the biggest thing that you do. Thank you, Eric.
Wow, yeah. I have nothing else to add to that. I do have a final question, but I'm going to save, well, not do the question because I want to save some time for your questions. UFC does have to leave in a couple minutes. If anybody has any specific question for her, now is the time. But if not, now is the time for questions. So we'll have time for a couple. All right. I got a question.
It's not specific to anyone, but what do you think is the most important thing when trying to find a job outside of course, the money, and like what do you think it's the thing that makes you say this is a job for me?
I'll answer quickly and then someone else can. To be candid, when I was graduating, I really needed a job. And it was like the only thing I was doing. I was having like nightmares about it, like waking up in the middle of the night and just like mass applying, because it was just like I needed a job very, very badly. And or else like things would have been different for me. So I'll say that your motivations and like the alternative to not having one are definitely something that I think play a factor, and how dedicated you are to getting a job that fits you. You could be just mass applying to jobs that don't fit you, and that's a waste of time. So I'd say that outlining like 2 to 3 things that you know you have as like that are marketable and like employable, because sometimes it's hard. I feel like as a right after graduation, you've been a student for 3 to 4 years. You need to make sure that your skills are transferable. So you have a lot of skills like as a college student that you've done, like being professional, showing up on time, going to classes, all of the things that you've done in class, like those are skills that are transferable. You just need to word them correctly and basically market yourself that you can do the job, even though you don't have maybe direct experience in what you're applying for. Like for me, I was never an executive assistant prior to this. I did some office work at Lynn, and I obviously have my degree. So I didn't really have any direct experience, but I was able to, through other various things that I've done outside of college, I was able to show my personality through. And I also had an in-person interview, which I think made a huge difference. Like I think having a virtual, yes, virtual interview. I now interview for investigators with my boss, and I'm on the interviews and I love it. But I will say like we hired like 2 in person and we never hire virtual, because it's just like you just don't understand, like it's just not the same. So I think the type of interview you get, the type of jobs that you're applying to, and how you can genuinely like market your transferable skills from college to the job you're applying to are like three things that I think are really important when with like navigating after college the job market.
Thanks.
Real quick, y'all, a reminder for everybody, when you ask a question, please, introduce your name, your cohort real quick, so everybody knows who's asking the question.
I can add to that quickly. I'd say, how do you know that a job is a job for you? I think it's a very, like, I like to think about things from the end, backwards, right? Think about it like this. If, God forbid, unfortunately, something happens to you while you're on the job, whatever job you're doing has become your life's work. That's what you're going to be remembered for to some degree. And maybe, the people who knew you outside of work, but you're going to spend a significant, portion of your life at work. So you might as well be doing something that you at least believe in, to some degree, or you can, contribute to. So I'll say number one, think about your job as your life's work. That's number one. Number two is find a job that has the opportunity for you to grow. And when I mean grow, I don't mean like promotion. I mean something that stretches you, right? Because the money you're going to be paid at the job will go. The title you're going to be, you're going to be given at the job actually doesn't even really matter. What matters is who you become on the job. The skills, the things that you have, even the way your mind thinks. No one can take that away from you. And you want to play in a space that allows you to be a valuable person in the marketplace. Because here's the trick. Here's a game that you're playing once you enter the marketplace, the workforce. The game you're playing is you want to spend the first few years of your career playing your cards right in such a way that at the other points of your career, you don't have to apply for a job. Because your value is very clear. You've demonstrated a value. So you can choose your work, right? That's the ultimate objective of life. You want to be able to choose your work. Because if your work chooses you, that's a job. So and the times in life, are there times in life where you might have to, take a job to maybe, make sure the light is on? I mean, some of you, quite frankly, I'm just going to be honest with you, some of you are so privileged you'll never be in that position. But if you ever find yourself in that position, it's not necessarily a terrible thing. What you want to do is you want to play your cards right in such a way that you never have to keep being in that position. Does that make sense? So choose work that allows you to grow. Choose work that allows you to expand. And you sometimes even at work, you need to find, I like what Annabelle really said, because literally you're in a position that most people can only hope and pray for. It's like the worst kind of jobs are the jobs where they tell you this is what you need to do, stick to this, and you can mindlessly go through the day and the week. You don't want to be there. You're literally dying with each day. You want the kind of work where there's no template. You have to make it work. Every day is an activity at problem solving, because what's happening is even the way your mind thinks and your ability to connect the dots. I like what she said. I think that's a very interesting quote. She said, I have to guess where my boss is supposed to be, even when she doesn't know where she's supposed to be. So that's real life. That's a very powerful thing, you see. But guess what? Every single leader is like that, including the leader of the free world. They don't know where they're supposed to be. They don't know what's going on. The people who are actually running the country are the people who are behind the scenes, like telling them, oh, you need to go here, you need to go this. Even the things they are saying, somebody wrote them. Do you know what I mean? So that's a very, very powerful place to be, because you're a very valuable person. So find places where you can add value, places where you can grow. And ultimately a job, a work, I like to think about that, your life's work. Something that you can be proud of. And if something happened to you, you can proudly say, this was my life's work. So. Well, Vishwa had a hand up first, so Vishwa chose.
I have a question for Annabelle. You mentioned that your boss is, like she doesn't know where she's, like she's supposed to be, and she's never like worked with an executive assistant before, so she's also figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, how did you find your balance? Like when you first started that job, and you're like, you were like also like a graduate student doing the job for the first time. How did you find your balance working with somebody like that and putting yourself in a place that you can grow rather than getting frustrated and pulling your hair out?
Yeah. So I think I've been frustrated, and then I think I also kind of got over it. So I think my learning curve, like, to be honest, was really hard when I first started. Like, I was not expecting it to be so difficult. I really wasn't. I knew the position I applied for somewhat. I guess because it wasn't after when I first interviewed and when I first applied. She didn't even, like, during the interview, she told me honestly, she's like, I don't even know what I'm gonna really need from you. I just, like, if you're good with Excel and Microsoft Outlook, like, I'll hire you type of thing. Like, it was really, but she's like awesome. Like, I don't know how to explain it to her, like how to explain it, but like her phone was buzzing during our meeting and she's like, this is why I need an assistant. And I was like, I get it. Okay. So I'm like, okay, this is how we are. So for the first couple, she travels a lot too. So I'm also alone a lot of the time in the office, like keeping an eye on things, like she says, without her there. But even through that, I'm managing where she's at, where she's supposed to be, and how she's gonna get there, and who she needs to be talking to. So I'd say, like, I was frustrated for a while because with her being so busy, like, and not even having the time to properly maybe train me the way that I maybe should have been and wanted to be, or the vision I had going into it, I never got that. So I had to kind of make things up as I went, and I did a lot of guessing. But I think another thing that I got really comfortable with was asking for help, which I don't think I always had when I was, a senior and, in Watson. I felt like I knew everything because maybe I didn't even need to ask for help for certain things. But in this role, like, I was clueless. I had no idea what I was doing. There was one other executive assistant and he was like to the CEO. And so he's not going to help me. Like, he's busy, like running around doing everything. Like, he's worse. But so he wasn't going to help me, and it was just me. And so I had to make things up. And so I got really, really comfortable asking questions, and that's what genuinely got me through. Like, I started making friends with like all my coworkers who, yeah, although much older than me, were like, so like all of them are awesome. And so I'd say, like, yes, I got frustrated, but the way that I got over it was asking questions and making a plan, and maybe not always running it by my boss and kind of just doing it. And if it worked, it worked. And she was like way more happy that I didn't have to ask her. And that was also in my review, my like, my yearly review. Like, she's like, I just need you to handle my problems when I don't ask. Like, I don't, and yeah, she really said that. And I was like, okay. And she was like, I need you just to fix it. She's like, HR, I can't do it. I don't want to talk to them. You do it. Like, I don't need to be back and forth. Like, I don't want to handle that. I need you to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm like 22. I've never spoken to an HR person in my life. I have no clue where I have room to be a leader, or like room to advocate for my boss who's right under the CEO. I have no idea. Like, I feel like I'm a child. I shouldn't be here. But I got over that quickly because, like, people can see that. And I think in the beginning, like, that might have been something that someone took advantage of me, that like they knew I was young and they knew that I might have been a little less confident. So that's how I got over it. And I think that's how I'm still not over it. I feel it's almost been a year, and every day is different. Every single day. Like, now I have like a rhythm where there's things that I do every single day for her. There's things that I follow up on without her. There's things that I fix before she knows it's a problem. And like, a couple months ago, I could have sat here and said, I literally don't know, that's not happening. I'm still not doing that. But today, like, I can honestly say I am. And so I think, like, sticking to it and being okay that like mistakes happen. And like, even if you have a boss that is like, she doesn't really like mistakes, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to make a mistake, like, and to be honest about it. Like, don't try and cover it up. Like, just be honest, like, hey, and asking for help, even when it's like maybe not the best place or you don't know who to ask for help, literally ask anyone. And most of the time people are willing to help. So yeah, I think that's, hopefully I answered your question.
So I do want to respect everybody's time. I don't have time for another question, but I'm going to give another question and then I will wrap up. So go ahead.
It's really quick, but this is a question for everyone, and you guys want to answer whatever you guys. But my question is where do you see yourself in 5 years? And then the next question is entrepreneurship still a part of you? And do you want to continue doing entrepreneurship? I mean, not a lot of you guys do entrepreneurship, but do you see yourself becoming an entrepreneur? in 5 years?
Romanchika, aka Romy.
I knew you were gonna cold call me. Sure. My best advice, throw away with your 5-year plans. Girl, like I honestly, I'm like not really, because you don't really know where like you're gonna be like 3 months from right now. That's how I've started to think. Like 5 years, I'm like, I'm not even I if I ask my 17-year-old if I'd see myself currently what I'm doing right now, absolutely not. Like, so I really don't believe in 5 years plan. Just think a little bit ahead. Literally 3 months in ahead, you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take care of this. This is how my year is gonna look like. Probably, definitely not gonna go what you're thinking like. So that's my advice for 5-year plans. Honestly, be flexible. That's the magic of life. Like, just say yes to things that you think are gonna align with you, and I think let the universe throw some magic, right? So that's what I think about 5 years plans. Entrepreneurship. I think growing up, I always, and I think I have it in me, I for sure know that I'm not going to work for somebody else. I am going to have my own company, and that spirit has not died for sure. I think currently working at Harvard Business School, right? I think I'm so glad that I got this job because this just made my love for startups and my love for companies way stronger. I think I got tons of resource and tons of like actual hands-on experience with people who have been running their companies, and kind of also got an idea of like, oh, what kind of problem do I actually want to solve? What does entrepreneurship actually look like? How do I find funders? Oh, can I get a angel investor? What does it actually look like to put a pitch deck? So my job kind of right now is helping me push me towards the actual direction that I want to be at. So entrepreneurship is definitely in my books because right now working, I definitely do want to think that I want to be my own boss, not because I don't like working under somebody else, but I just feel like I get to make the impact and kind of change things more like in more powerful way than I can ever do that. So yeah, it is still in the books. Hopefully soon. But thank you for the question. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Can I add something?
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I think not necessarily scratch your plan, because I feel like you're right now here, you have an idea of what the kind of impact you want to make for entrepreneurship, and that may not be necessarily a 5-year goal, but see it as the big picture. For example, in my case, I knew that I wanted to use my graphic design skills to impact social impact organizations to help them amplify their voices. So yeah, my plan is someday I hopefully can have my own creative agency where I can do that. But right now, being realistic, I just cannot shoot that high, right? So I'm like creating that path towards that. That may not be in 5 years, but in maybe in the near future. So you have this goal, this impact, break it down. What can you do now so you can achieve that in the future? And as Ramashika said, it's not going to be always like straightforward. Maybe you would discover something in the path that may shift that idea or that goal that you have, but it's still you're going through that process and embracing that journey. So, it's like running a marathon. Like you can say, I want to run a 10K, and if you start tomorrow with 5K, you would get disappointed because you won't be able to make it. It's like little things, like breaking that huge goal into little separate things that may eventually lead to that bigger aspect. So that's what I
One more time, y'all. Let's clap it up for them. I want to say thank all of you again for being open and willing to join us here at the roundtable. I have some gifts for y'all, but I hand those out afterwards. But to the students, I just want to add on and say, like, I hope a lot of what you guys were able to get from this roundtable. And I'm gonna steal a quote from James, like, the training is one thing, but giving yourself to the training is another thing, right? And I think for one, showing up here, being here, that's the first step, right? Give yourself to the training. Watson is a program that you get out what you put into it. And I don't know all of you all that well, but I do know that you guys are here right now, right? And that's a good sign. So continue, keep pushing forward, and one day you guys can be up here on the panel, giving back to your own Watson. That's it. I appreciate y'all. Are we taking the group photo? Like, are we doing that? Or?
Let's do one with the panelists first.